Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. We have exciting sessions on information technology, data analytics, and many, many more. Make sure to download the VFairs app on your mobile phones for a smoother watching experience. We know you guys are excited for this session, but for now, chill for a few minutes and watch this video for reminders before we begin. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to Nest Level session on digital acceleration at Nestle. How integrated marketing and information technology teams support the journeys of our markets and brands. I am JV from Nestle Philippines, and I will be your host for this session. So, before we start, I know you're all excited. But let me just share some house rules so that we will have a smooth flowing session today. First, make sure to check out our chat box so that you can catch important announcements and links on how you can engage with us using Slido. So keep those questions coming on Slido. We know you're all eager to engage and participate, but please avoid flooding the chat box so that you would not miss those announcements. All right? So, second, always have your mobile phones on standby so you can scan the QR codes on the slides that you will see on your screens later and have access to possible career opportunities at Nestle in information technology across our markets around the globe. And who knows, you can be one of us, a force for good in the near future. Can't wait to have you guys on board. So great, let's begin the session, the first step to be a force for good. So our first speaker, it is my honor to introduce to you the data and technology lead of Nestle Business Services. She has over 10 years of experience in information technology and is experienced in optimization, global transition, and project management. Everyone, please welcome our first speaker, Olha Vyslobodska. Hi,
Hi,
Ola.
JV. Hi, JV. Happy to be here.
Hello, thank you so much for being here. So that is our first speaker, Ola. Our second speaker is the Integrated Marketing Services Lead at Nestle Business Services as well. He has diverse experience in several industries, including FMCG, professional products, and telecommunications. Everyone, let's all welcome our second speaker, Mark Castillo. Hi, Mark. Glad to have you on board.
Hi, JV. Hi, everyone.
Hello. So guys, I'm really excited to learn from both of you, how Nestle is transforming from the usual traditional technology that we've been seeing for a few years now and how it transformed today with more interactive, user-friendly, customizable tools. So Ola and Mark, the floor is yours.
Thank you, JV. So hi, everyone, again. As I mentioned, it's a great pleasure to be here with you and share our experience with you. So today, let's talk a little bit about Nestle Business Services and our role in helping Nestle to accelerate digital. Before going even to the power of digitization, it's important to tell a little bit more about what is Nestle Business Services organization is. And most people really know Nestle by its products, but every great product is made by people, by production frontliners, as well as back office teams. So today, Mark and I will be giving you a glance of how our teams are promoting and living digital to make sure that every customer can find the products they love on physical and digital shelves. As any other brand, Nestle Business Services has its history, evolution, and presence. So what is NBS? And NBS stands for Nestle Business Services, actually. It is a Nestle in-house, back office and beyond team for financial, supply chain, sales, HR, and integrated marketing located all around the world. This brand means international presence, inclusion, and hundreds smart and engaged people on every continent to play their part in Nestle ambition of a good food and good life. Our vision is simple but inspiring at the same time. Our vision is to be the partner of choice for services that leverage our insights and scale to support business agility and digital innovation success. We have 9 locations around the world, partnering with our markets and businesses to generate value, future-ready agile processes, and digitally savvy teams to support the growth of our business. And NBS Manila is one of the 9, located in Meycua and Bulacan. Our organization is young, curious, and very much into digital. It's been already 15 years of the history in the Philippines, embraced by inclusive environment, respectful culture, and open-minded people with different skills and languages. And if you see, we're proud to have 11 different languages spoken here in the center of NBS Manila. So with this, I kind of made a quick intro of a brand of NBS. Now, the next 15 minutes, let's focus and talk more about technology itself. So what's our role in Nestlé's digital transformation journey? Technology today is an integral part of the everyday life and our work as well. And imagine your workday with 0 time spent on boring stuff. No copy pasting from one Excel to another, no manual templates to fill in, no waiting time before the report gets refreshed, and my favorite one, no VLOOKUPs. It sounds like a dream, right? But the thing is that we do have a team here in NBS Manila, which actually turns this dream into reality. We turn it into reality for ourselves, as well as for our markets we work with. And everything we do, we are integral part of the global strategy, working closely with both global and regional teams. So what do we really do, and what are the most important skills? We have 3 main areas. The first one is the classic ISIT, information technology. This is the team which ensures that every employee has very positive user experience with all the systems and tools they use at work. We support them from all the angles, starting with deploying laptops to the new customer and finishing with sharing best practices on how to use Microsoft solutions. The second one is dashboarding team. Dashboarding team is the one which creates magic in Power BI to help our markets based on concrete needs and value, leveraging global data lakes and following very wide governance to avoid any duplications of the dashboards. And then the process automation. The process automation team is looking after robotic automation. And in a couple of minutes, I'll get into a bit more details. So now let's spend a few minutes on each of the area so I can give you a bit of more details on how our day-to-day job looks like. Now, before I go to more detailed explanation of each of the areas, I want to ask yourself a question. How do you imagine robots in the work environment? And what I did, I also spoke to a few random people, not related to my work life, asking them to explain with their own words, what is robot in the work environment for them? And all of them made a description close to this. Well, I would be very happy to have a small coffee assistant like a Star Wars droid, but yeah, maybe this will be the priority in upcoming years. Right now, when we speak about robot in the work environment, it's more a program which mimics human actions following the script. If every morning you have to download data, dump it, format, and then upload to another place, robotic automation is definitely for you. So how actually it works? There are 2 types of robots our team can build. Those which require human interaction, we call them assisted, and those which are completely autonomous. They both mimic human steps, indeed. The difference is the trigger. In case of assisted automation, person will trigger the robot, will literally push the button, while in case of autonomous robot, it will be triggered automatically following the programmed schedule. Robot can interact with pretty much any system in use. It can be SAP or any other enterprise solution. It can be any web-based portal, Microsoft, emails, whatever you can imagine and whatever you use in your work life. So what I will do next, I will show you a very, very quick time-lapse video of around 15 minutes of robot processing time. No worries, it won't take me 15 minutes to showcase. It will be just 30 seconds, but I would like you to think how much time you think this activity would take when the human would process it. So let me run it. So it will be very quick. It will be showing you a lot of steps. And as you see, this robot does a lot of data moves from one place to another. This is the automation which actually has 3 steps. It's not the most complex one. First, it downloads the data from the source, then filters it, sorts it as per required rules, and then goes to the next source. Second step is the one which consolidates output following the script, and then create a final input file for the next step. And finally, the very last step is actually doing an upload of the ready input file into the system, which is then finally used for whatever next action you have to do. So I will answer you how many minutes the human being would take to do all of this manually. And for now, just put your guess in the chat bot, and I will give you the answer later. Let's see how close you are. So this was my very quick showcase on the automation. Now I will move to the dashboarding. Dashboarding is another area where analytics mindset meets creativity. And you will see even more of that creativity in Mark's presentation. Nowadays, we have millions, I would say billions of bytes of data available. It's literally everywhere. And data means trends. And trends means understanding of our customers, their needs, and how can we do better for them tomorrow. So what our team does, they help our markets to transform the raw data into the storyline, where the universe of numbers is organized, an analytics person is telling you the story, literally the story, gradually leading you to the root cause. This team combines for our markets internal and external data sources, leveraging only trusted and approved by Nestlé data lakes to ensure the data is reliable, of course, the input is insightful and comprehensive. So last but not least will be about digital employee workforce. Since pandemic started, we realized that our people need IT support even more than before, especially in the work from home or hybrid setup. That is why we created a virtually agile team, which helps our people with full range of possible problems, from damaged headset to knowledge sharing on some fancy features in the Outlook, which can make your life easier. And regardless the area where they work, the team has one skill in common. It's analytical thinking, or what I call connecting the dots mindset. Of course, it will also be about the knowledge of IT platforms, automation tools, programming languages, but analytical mindset is really the core, which helps everyone to grow in the era of digitization. So, not to make you too much bored with the technology stuff, I think now I will come to the most important question. Why do we do all of that? I think I partially answered when I introduced you with our vision, but in a nutshell, we do support digital acceleration in order to save time, of course, and focus on more value-added activities. We want to minimize and even reduce completely all of the meanings of errors and any reworks due to those errors. Because the reality is that today we do so little time on strategic decisions and so much time on correcting when something went wrong. And of course, because we want to be fast. Speed right now is everything. World is changing faster and faster, which means we should be ready to cope with that speed of change and eventually even foresee and change the move ourselves. So as I promised to answer you how many minutes the human being would take to run the robot I showed before. And the answer is 90. So imagine an hour and a half of someone's life literally doing the manual copy, paste, download, upload type of things. With this, I'm passing the floor to Mark to walk you through the exciting journey of a digital in the area of integrated marketing. Mark, floor is yours.
Awesome. Thanks, Ola. All right. So Ola introduced Nestlé Business Services. And now let me zero in a little bit more on the marketing specific area of what NBS does. So really our reason for being is what you see here in the subtitle, right? So we enable the digital acceleration of our brands. So one of the main things that has really impacted this is how technology has changed. So the next two slides I'm going to show you is a little bit of a throwback, but I think it sets a good context for what I will share. So as we all know, and by a show of hands or in the chat, can I ask how many people still get information from what you see here on the screen, our beloved newspapers, radio, and television? Okay, so we know that this is how people used to get it, and I'm sure a lot of people still do, as well as how people used to get goods and services, right? Going to the grocery. Nothing wrong with these channels whatsoever, and all due respect to the people in these industries. But as can be expected, how people now get information and entertainment and goods and services is on the next slide. So we know social media has been now the #1 source of information for a lot of our Gen Z, millennials, And then if you look at YouTube, the amazing thing about this for me is what we used to count as entertainment came from one source, right? Which was the television. And we had no choice but to listen to the channels and what they thought we wanted to hear. But the amazing thing about social media is now people have so much choice in terms of what they choose to be informed by, what they choose to be entertained by. And it's not only companies that are doing this, but each other. So we are now in the age where we learn and are entertained by each other, right? And one of my favorite examples was this amazing bottle opener challenge. And I'm sure some of you have done this in even more creative ways. I think I saw somebody with a jet ski open it with their feet. But the amazing thing about this is we can now be entertained at a faster pace, and we never know when the next thing is going to come from, right? So we know that consumers and people are now glued to this more than they were to the old sources. And although groceries and brick and mortar is still there, we also know with no surprise that the acceleration of digital commerce has really revolutionized where people get their goods and services. And the pandemic has really accelerated that. So this is really a game changer. Okay, I am a gamer myself, and so I couldn't resist but to use this analogy. This has really been a game changer in terms of how brands learn about and interact with our consumers. So the before and after, right? So back then, marketers were limited to the amount of consumer data they could get at a real-time basis, right? We would have to commission research agencies and ask them to take snapshots or sometimes even more periodic analysis of what consumer behavior is like. But now with the advent of big data, right, we get data with more variety, more velocity, and more volume, right? The 3 Vs. When it comes to marketing campaigns or how we create engaging brand experiences for our consumers, we would make a campaign for Nescafe, where I used to work, and we would hope that it would hit the correct target market. But now, the ability of technology to not just personalize marketing, but also to target them and to iterate over and over again in a way that we can even sharpen how we do it as we're doing it is just amazing. In terms of the direction of communication, as I described in the past, we had no choice as consumers. We would have to, listen like zombies to what the big companies were telling us, and it was one way. And companies had no way to really regularly get feedback from us, right? But today, it's not only interactive and it's not only two-way, right? Consumers have so many ways of getting back in terms of giving feedback to companies, but it's also interway, right? We get feedback from each other, and companies and brands have to take this into account. Another one is the lack of real-time performance data. We would need to wait, 2, 3, 4 months before we knew if a marketing campaign was working, if it was resulting in sales or market share gain. Today, we actually learn much faster from online behavior and consumer feedback. And another thing that has become much, much faster is the gap between marketing and conversion. Yeah. In the past, we weren't sure how long it would take for a marketing campaign or an advertising activity or an activation activity to result in conversion or sales. Now, the zero moment of truth is upon us, right? People have a much, much faster way of going from a marketing campaign and going straight to e-commerce. So these are major changes, major breaks in the game. And there are a lot of battles that marketers today need to win, but I've tried to summarize them into 3. Number 1, data is king. So the mission is really, how do we streamline, unify all of the data that is out there and call them for insights, right? How do we make them much more actionable? Second, we talked about how people are now more interactive, right? So the second must-win battle is about personalization, but not just one-on-one, it's personalization at scale. I know this is not a new term for a lot of you, but this is really a reality, right? And that's a challenge for marketing because our marketing budgets are limited, right? So how can you keep up with the demand for much more personalization at a much faster rate? And one of the ways to do that is the third must-win battle, right? We need to be able to track the performance of our campaigns, the performance of our activities, evaluate it, and iterate it, right? So these 3, you can think of them as a cycle, right? As we get more data, we personalize our campaigns at scale, and then we track, and then from the learnings, we use that as data, and it goes all around and all around. Okay, so how does marketing services come in? So my team is called Integrated Marketing Services because I lead several digital professionals from different digital marketing disciplines, okay, to be able to address these must-win battles. So first, the must-win battle was data is king, and how do we unify data? So the first thing that we need to do is to use data as a growth engine. So all of you can click the title there, right? we have to be able to use data to get to know our consumers more deeply, right? The first principle of marketing, understand your consumers deeply. Second, how do we do personalization at scale? Well, our team is also responsible for helping to enable brands to achieve next level content, to not just personalize, but to mass produce, if you will, personalization, if that's even possible. And the third one, how do we track our performance? Well, we also provide always on analytics to track the performance of every unit of money that we spend and then to optimize and iterate. Okay, so underneath this, in the next slide, you will see details of the disciplines that my team is involved with. So underneath data as a growth engine, we've got consumer engagement and CRM. Under next level content, website, search, content, and digital commerce. And under analytics, I've got social media performance and marketing analytics. I will be going into this into more detail. So let's start. Data as a growth engine. In the next slide, you will see that we first start with our consumers. So we have a team that engages with different channels with our consumers, whether it's a traditional telephony system, social media, chatbots, even the ratings and reviews that we get on e-commerce, right? They're also now able to gather this data and put it into a knowledge base so that we don't lose the insights that we get and we can continue to learn from the past. And then we can also represent this in what we call voice of consumer reporting. So an example here on the right, you can see that one of our teams is able to track the amount of volume that we get in terms of comments or interactions on social media from marketing campaigns, and even point out to the brands which particular posts drove the most engagement. So as a marketeer, this is very valuable for me because then it helps me to learn from the past and then to make the marketing spend that I spend for the next month much more effective and efficient. The next way we use data as a growth engine is on social listening. Okay? So we have a team that works with several tools that can, let's say, mine social media for different insights. So we can look at the volume trends and sentiment analysis. So we know if we can summarize if the interactions, reactions, comments from a particular campaign were mostly positive, neutral, or negative. We can even deep dive into how consumers perceive our category. So the amazing thing about this is in the past, when you commission a research agency and they're face-to-face with consumers, for some countries, like say the Philippines, the consumers tend to be very optimistic and positive. So they will posture and they will, let's say, not give you the most honest answer. But on social media, we know that people have no problems saying what they really feel, right, about brands. And here we can get much more authentic perceptions and even guide our brands in terms of what kind of segments consumers actually fall into or what audiences they are. And then we can even deep dive on conversations, right? We can even go into in-depth and for example, a conversation about coffee, right? And what do consumers really think about the category in general or about our brands, right? So these are two examples of how we try to use the technology today and social media to understand our consumers more deeply. But then the next step is how do we then use content to personalize this at scale? So we have what we call the content services team in the Philippines. And you'll see here in the video on the right that when we talk about content adaptation, we have what we call prime or master assets that come from content studios. So for example, imagine Starbucks. There's a team in, let's say, Switzerland that creates the master assets or the main visuals or campaigns for Starbucks. But then this can then be adapted and localized for different markets all around the world. This is much more efficient and much more effective than if each market did their own Starbucks campaign themselves, because then you can leverage the power of centralization. And then you can have a team of digital artists like my team work with a content studio. And then you can see here in the video how it tries to explain that the team is able to adapt an image. For example, if it started in English and the Japanese market needs it, then we can adapt this particular asset to the Japanese needs. We can change the volume, we can change the text, the pricing, anything that is needed, right? And this becomes very, very easy now to automate and to personalize at scale for different markets. And then they can even be easily deployed as point of sale materials or video content. And the amazing thing is that our team can work with different categories all around the world, depending on what they need. Okay, so I'll let the video play on a little bit. But if you look at the right, apart from adapting the content, the team is also able to facilitate computer-generated imagery. So another way to do this very efficiently is instead of shooting your products, we work with computer-generated imagery to create a master chassis and then wrap high-res artwork around it so that this can then be used and reused and that you don't need to keep reshooting, right? And then finally, all of this results into hundreds, thousands of what we call digital assets or marketing assets. Think about how many videos, mobile hero images, audio this results in. So we have a team of what we call librarians that actually stores, migrates all of these digital assets into what we call a content hub that can then be used and reused by our marketing teams around the world. So this is one big step that we do in terms of personalization at scale. All right. So in the next slide, another way that we do personalization at scale is in the realm of customer relationship management, or CRM. So these are the electronic direct mails that we get. For example, if you're a member of the Nespresso Club, right, or the Nestlé Infant Nutrition Club, you will get personalized, much more targeted marketing campaigns and emailers based on what you need. And again, we have a team that can personalize this in terms of language, visuals, segmenting, and it can go all the way from a simple one-shot email to a journey. And when we say journey, we say if the mom of the kid is a mom of, let's say, a 4 or 5 year old child, this is what they will need. And then as the child grows up, we can continue to go with them on that journey, which is just amazing. Okay. Another way that we personalize is in the realm of websites and SEO. So in the next slide, you will see a similar example, right, to what we did for Starbucks. Or if there's a global website template, we can then localize this based on the need of the market. There's also a team that does updating of the content on the website, also to make sure that the user experience is optimal. And then they work hand in hand with SEO experts to make sure that our website is optimized for search and always comes up on the lists when the category is being looked for. Because today, people get information from this, and websites can be used for different purposes, whether it's to get first-party data, to give more information about our brands, or to lead eventually to e-commerce. And this really helps to generate a more personalized and interactive experience for consumers. Okay. And then finally, when it comes to personalization, another big thing is obviously in the realm of digital commerce. And I have a team of digital commerce experts that help in terms of different services. So one is publishing the actual content on e-retailers. So if you remember the marketing assets that I discussed a while ago, we can then take those assets from the content hub, and then our team actually is the one that places them or publishes them onto e-retailers like Shopee, Lazada, Kohl's, what have you. And it's not just those images, but we also do pricing, nutritional information, everything that a consumer needs when they're shopping online. We also work with the Amazon back office to make sure that our products, as much as possible, always come out in terms of the search results of our e-retailer search function. We also try to minimize lost sales to third party and make sure that we maximize the sales from our flagship stores on Amazon. And finally, our team also is able to monitor the quality of the data and keep it up to date on our e-retailers. Because as you know, pricing can change. There's a promotion that can happen. A packaging change can happen. So we always make sure that this is up to date. Okay, so it's an amazing, if you think about an ecosystem that enables our Nestlé brands, our Nestlé categories to keep churning personalization, personalized experiences at a massive scale for all of our consumers. All right. And finally, after we personalize, we need to see how are we doing, right? So this is why always on analytics is key. And here we talk about dashboarding for marketing and as well as social listening. So on the right, you can see an example of a dashboard that we did for Nespresso to show not just how our machines are doing in terms of sales, but also their the responses and perception of consumers on them. And the importance of dashboards is it makes it much more actionable, much more digestible, right, for our marketing teams to see on a regular basis how are we doing. And social listening on the right is also an important way of making sure that we have something customizable, agile, based on the business need. So it's not one size fits all. We can actually customize this based on what different markets, different categories need. All right. So in a nutshell, that is what integrated marketing services is in Nestlé. So if I were to go to the next slide, one of the most exciting parts of working with our team is really that we get to work with not just Manila, right, but different markets around the world and different regions and zones. Okay. Seems to have lost that slide. But anyway, the point there was that we're not just limited to one zone. We work with all the categories, all the markets, all the zones around the world across those different marketing disciplines. Okay. So just in case the slide doesn't come back because they're probably trying to get it back, that was actually the last detail that I had on integrated marketing services. So in a nutshell, our team helps to win the 3 must-win battles of marketing: to unify data, because data is king; to enable brands to perform personalization at scale; and to make sure that we're always tracking the performance of our brands and we continue to iterate and win in the marketplace. All right, that was it. And that was my last slide.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark. And thank you, Ola, for that very interesting talk. Guys, I think people at Nestle will agree with me when I say that NBS truly helps make our markets and brands lives easier when it comes to gathering insights. Everything that you showed, Mark, I was really amazed because I didn't know that was the back end. That was how you guys did it. I know that's just an overview, and it's so much more complicated when in your day-to-day tasks at NBS, but it's amazing to see how it really works. So are we ready to go to the question and answer portion of
Yes.
our session today? Let's go. So let me just look at the questions over here. All right, so the first question is from an anonymous sender. Centralized master assets creation is great, but how do you guys deliver speed and agility?
Yeah, so hopefully I was able to address that a little bit in the content adaptation part. So centralized master asset starts from, let's say, a content studio, and then we're able to adapt that to the need of a market, anywhere between, let's say, a matter of hours to maybe a few days. Versus before, if you were to work with an agency, it would take, I don't know, a week, right? And the fact that we're able to do this centrally and digitally enables the marketing teams to search for that asset anytime they need it, anytime they want. So it accelerates that process. And also because it's internal to Nestle, it minimizes the need also for the procurement teams to go back and forth with external agencies, if you will.
True.
So hopefully that answers the question.
Yep, really good. So it's readily available and it eliminates unnecessary long processes. Okay, the next question is for Sir Mark, an anonymous sender again. As a gamer yourself, how do you see Nestle Philippines collaborating with Philippine gamers or reach out to the gaming community in the country?
I think that's a really exciting area, right? And I don't know if I outed myself by admitting I'm a gamer. I promise I don't game during company time. But I think that this is something that is a big opportunity, particularly if you think about the brands that can appeal to a gaming community. And again, there's even different categories of gamers, right? So to me, if you think about the metaverse, if you think about the state of gaming today, there are a lot of things that can be done, right? It depends on whether or not the brands are able to connect specific, let's say, gaming communities with what they're trying to, what message they're trying to deliver as a brand. But for me, I would love it, right? If Nestle continues to be more active in doing this, because there's so many opportunities. I think the challenge though is how do you keep it authentic, right? And not disrupt the gaming experience, let's say, with a corporate thing there all of a sudden. But I think there's the sky's the limit for that.
Thank you, Mark. I believe there's the market. The field is there. It just depends on the purpose and through the message of the brand. So this one goes to Ola. I'm not sure if this is something that we can disclose, but the question is, what are the tools and softwares that you use at Nestle for data processing?
Thank you. Great question. Well, the answer is very simple. We use Power BI. This is really the main tool for the data processing and data visualization. Now, there could be multiple data sources coming from different places. So usually we do use our own Nestle built global data lakes. So we try that majority of data comes from there, but connecting to marketing, for instance, and Mark's area, whenever we want to receive a data from consumers, of course, it will be treated as external data. So we cannot store it in-house data lake. So in that case, the data sources will be external. But regardless the data source, the main tool right now for the visualization and actual analytics build will be Power BI, which is a Microsoft solution.
Thank
I
you so
hope that answers.
Yes. Thank you so much, Ola. So the next question is for Mark again. How do you manage and control email marketing from heavy unsubscription despite personalization?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think unsubscription is something that is part of the work, right? The challenge here is really not to. I would say it like this: it's not really to worry about unsubscription, but to make sure that as much as possible you're getting to the right people. Because the people who unsubscribe are either one of two things. One, they're not the relevant person for your email campaign. Second, there's something about your email campaign, even if they're the right person, that might not be connecting with them. So to me, it's about learning, right, from the unsubscription rate, even from those, and making sure that we are able to iterate based on those learnings, how we can either target people that are more relevant, or number two, to make sure that the campaigns themselves are more effective or more relevant, connecting to their needs. Because to me, unsubscription is either one of those two things. It's not the right person, or you're not providing them with the right content.
Very well said. Thank you, Mark. I think this one goes to Ola. Can you give more details about the digital bar concept? In what way is this different from a traditional service desk of big multinational companies?
Amazing question. I was actually expecting that one. So of course, the core of a digital bar will be somewhat close to the service desk, indeed, because still we have to resolve issues, we have to handle incidents, so we have to make sure that everything operates smoothly and whatever fallout is a non-event. But the digital bar differs from the perspective of sharing the better user experience. What does it mean? I know it's like very popular combination of words, but very often we don't really go into the deepest details what exactly it means. So imagine you're a newcomer in the company and theoretically you do know how to use certain tools, let's say Outlook for the emails, but you did not have experience in using it. It kind of sounds funny, but there are cases like that. So what the digital bar means for us is that anyone with any question can come to the digital bar, ask the question, and the best practices, the sharing will be given to that person. Now, the level up will be conducting virtual and classroom events for our employees. It can be podcasts dedicated to a specific tool or system or software. It can be some sort of video sharing, like how to do certain things in 3 clicks. It can be do and don'ts. It can be sharing some sort of standards. So any activities related to boost the experience of our users in order to make their life simpler and easier will be this on top layer, which we call the concept of digital bar on top of the basic of a service desk.
Thank you so much, Ola. I think that clarifies that question. Let's go to the next one. What is the difference between working for one of your digital hubs, for example, the one in Italy, versus working for Nestlé Business Services in the Philippines?
Okay, so the primary purpose of existence for Nestlé Business Services is the back office activities for our markets at the regional level. So NBS Manila is supporting financial services, HR, marketing services, supply chain, sales, all the back office related activities and beyond. Why I say beyond, because like with Mark's area, it literally goes beyond the regular back office stuff. But the main purpose of the center is to provide those services. Now, we are not existing because of the IT. And this is the main difference, because the hubs, IT hubs, it's literally called IT hubs in India, in other locations, in Milan, they are created for the purpose of IT. So this is where the regional teams are located, like supporting the Microsoft solutions. This is what is called Workforce 360, supporting systems and softwares and applications, SAP globally. So this team are responsible for well, okay, it's too loud word responsible. So these teams are basically dealing with the global solutions at the Nestlé level, while our team is serving our own people within the center, as well as working and partnering with the markets we do provide those services with.
Thank you so much, Ola. So before we proceed with more tech-related questions. Maybe you guys can answer a career-related question. Being, two of the top leaders, not just in the Philippines, but maybe in business services at Nestle. What's your advice to the participants, particularly the youth here in attendance? We are currently 593. We have 593 in the call. What's your advice for them if, should they want to pursue a career same as you two?
Okay, I can go first. So I think my reply will be very much IT related. I think the main message and the main advice I can give is to try new things which are becoming popular on the very early stage, and not be afraid to try those things. So who would imagine like 5 years ago that people will be making billions in the social network, for example, in the social media? Who would think that we will be not that often using Excel, but rather using Power BI? So there could be hundreds of how and who would think. But the thing here is that there are people who thrived in that area because they were not afraid to try. So that's my advice. Try, learn new, don't be afraid to make mistakes because everyone does it. But the more you try, the more experience you gain, and the more experience you gain, the easier your career path is.
Thank you, Ola. And Mark, do you have any?
No, I think that was super well said by Ola. I don't know what else I can add to that. Maybe the other thing I could maybe flesh out is, when you talk about trying new things, sometimes when, let's say, people want to join my team and they say, do I need to be an expert in social media to join social media services? Or, do I need to be adept at digital commerce in order to do e-commerce services? I think that would be an advantage if you have a background like that. But we have a lot of people in my team who did not start out as, let's say, a social media expert or a digital commerce expert, but they came from a different discipline. To me, it's your ability to learn, right? How fast is your learning curve? And so to add to what Ola was saying about don't be afraid to try, also don't be afraid to learn, right? Because sometimes we think that we need to be good at something before a company like Nestle will have us. And sometimes that's true. But at least in our team, we try to make sure, does this person have potential? And what in the past have they demonstrated to show that, okay, they have this agility to be able to learn fast, right? So I think Ola's answer was amazing, and maybe that's what I would add to it.
Thank you so much to Mark. So let's now go back to the questions submitted by our participants here. So the next one is again from an anonymous sender. What is the biggest challenge with data when you are unifying, given that these may have been from disjointed sources? Do you also use DMPs for enriching data?
Sorry, I'm not so sure what is DMP, but the biggest challenge is to sort out all the data which exists out there. Now, how to sort, it will be really like very technical questions. So we do have people skilled in that area. So they do use different methods of doing it. But the thing is that as long as you do have the data out there, you need to put a lot of effort to make sure that the data is trusted, that the data is filtered and sorted properly, and that the final data set, or like the final result of the data, which can be then used by the systems like Power BI, is really clean and reliable. So that's probably the biggest challenge which exists today. Yeah, there will be like other things, of course. So sometimes it can be as simple as formatting. Sometimes it can be as simple as speed, how fast we can load the data, because it's billions of bytes over there. So altogether, it does create a challenge, and every single day there are more and more data out there. Which means that we need to be also fast enough to learn fast enough how to deal with that data.
Thank you, Ola. Another question for you. To Ola, is there any room to train interested individuals in data processing tools or any other applications used in Nestle outside of your internal staff? Someone's interested.
Of course, if you want to grow, Nestle always gives you that chance to grow. And I can give you the real example. So when we started dashboarding team, literally the first 5 folks were our own operational people who learned Power BI back then on their own using YouTube and using LinkedIn. So they joined the team and they started to gain experience. And if I look back, like even a year ago, so we didn't have yet that cool and fancy looking dashboards because team was still coping. So we invested, we gave them time, they learned more, and now they are really doing a magic in the Power BI. So it comes back to any system or any software. What you have to do is to do the very first step. And then the company, of course, will help you to take the second, the third, and become an expert.
Thank you so much, Ola. Another question. This is one from Charles. As an upcoming data analyst, how can Nestle? Well, I think Ola answered this as well just now. Let's see, what other questions do they have? Oh, okay. So this is for Mark. What are the services that you offer for which you see high potential, but yet little utilized by markets?
Okay, that's a good question. I think one of the highest potential services right now is obviously digital commerce, but it's different kinds of digital commerce services. The only reason why, let's say, I would say, for example, e-retail monitoring is not yet as widely used is also awareness. So we have our own job to do within our team to show our markets that we can actually do this for them, right? So sometimes it's just about letting people know that there's this ability for us to monitor the quality of the content, of the image accuracy, for example, on Lazada, or the accuracy of your mobile hero images or nutritional information or pricing on different e-retailers so that they can actually maximize it. Another thing that we're doing actually is what we call UGC. I will paraphrase it, UGC curating. So we work with Nespresso to be able to curate the different user-generated content that their fans do on Instagram, for example, and how that can be elevated as let's say a global campaign, right? So things like this, our team is able to help brands to actually find relevant user-generated content that they can actually, let's say, collaborate with for their own campaign. So I think that's a very, very interesting area.
Thank you, Mark. Another question. This one is from Rupert Raskinia. What challenges do you foresee given that cookies are going to be discontinued or platforms are starting to block tracking at a different level?
I think, Mark, is that for you, I guess?
Yeah, we can both answer it. Yeah, I think for me, the development on cookies is definitely a factor, but there will also be, I'm very, very optimistic about the amount of data that will still be out there even without the cookies, because at the end of the day, you know, what's been proven is that the digital technology has really enabled us to be able to learn more about our consumers, not just, let's say, from their behavior on websites, but as I said, even on social media, on e-retail sites and things like this. So I think it's definitely a factor, but it's not, let's say, going to be a showstopper.
Yep, and probably just to add on that and build on that. So as a company, right, as a company selling the products, we also want to hear the targeted feedback from our customers. So this is the reason why we do have a different survey feedback mechanism. So there are a lot of sources, as Mark mentioned, to get the data. And well, I probably also like inventing the future a bit, but as long as certain things become not available or discontinued, there is always something else coming in. So I doubt that the world as such will really lose the momentum of not having enough information about their customers, because that's the momentum, that's the future. So.
Thank you so much for answering that question, Mark and Ola. I think we're down to our last question. Okay, let me just search for an interesting question. Uh-huh. I think Mark already answered this question. Do you plan any VR app for Nestle brands? You answered this earlier with, the gaming technology. I think that's something that's related. Okay. Question to Mark. Is retail digital media also part of your portfolio, from adaptation to personalization of performance measuring?
Retail digital media. I'm not sure exactly what the let's say anonymous person meant by retail
Yeah.
digital media. If they mean, for example, does our team also provide adaptation for the, let's say, digital point of sale that you see in some stores, in some brick and mortar stores, then yes, they can do that. If they mean, do we also provide, let's say, media planning services? Not yet. We're not yet there. But one of the things that is really exciting about where we are today is that a lot of the things that I described did not exist 1 year ago, 2 years ago. And in the next couple of years, our team has the agility to continue to build the expertise or acquire the expertise and work with the markets to develop things that we may not even be doing yet.
Thank you, Mark. That's amazing. I mean, hearing that this did not exist a year ago, I mean, it shows how agile, how fast our team learns new concepts, new technology. It's amazing. Thank you so much. So sorry, that's the last question, guys. I know you're still interested to ask Mark and Ola questions, but that's all the time that we have. So before we close, Mark, Ola, any message from the 597 people watching us today?
Guys, become as much digitally savvy as you can. I'm again in my IT/technology area because I think this is what is going to drive the performance moving on. Because as I mentioned, world is changing, and we really try to focus more and more on more interesting and more exciting things rather than just processing something. So I say something because we can process a lot of things, but the more digitization we bring to the company, and I literally say we, because everyone is responsible for bringing their area, their company, their community, their friends, their parents even. Like, we all have parents who learned the mobile phone some years ago. It's your responsibility at the first place to level up with your digital knowledge. Once you're there, believe me, you will embrace that knowledge, you will find new things, you will understand how the market behaves, you will understand what are the profiles company searches for, and you will bring your profile to match that requirements. And of course, as long as you're open to learn, as Mark mentioned, all the doors are open.
Thank you, Ola. And Mark, any final words?
Yeah, no, amazing. Thank you guys for joining us. I think, and thank you for the questions, because as we get questions, we also learn about what is interesting in the minds of people today. I can only reinforce what Ola just said. Again, trying new things. There are things that are going on today that did not exist a year or a couple of years ago. And sometimes our tendency might be to say, okay, I don't understand that. Maybe it's not important. But, enable your curiosity. I think that would be my parting message, right? Be curious. No matter what age you are, no matter what your background is, curiosity is going to be one of your strongest assets. And with the availability of information, whether it's YouTube videos or whatever you search on Google, that is literally at your fingertips, you will be surprised at what you can do. All right. So all the best to everybody.
Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much, Ola. Guys, amazing words from these amazing people. What an interesting, insightful session. I myself was super engaged. I didn't expect that I would be that engaged to your content, Mark and Ola. Thanks so much. And also a huge thank you to our participants for today. We're over 600. The number of our participants today has reached over 600. That's so crazy. Thank you everyone for attending this session. We hope you enjoyed hearing from the industry experts and feel inspired by their sharing. Let's more all be tech savvy moving forward. Digital acceleration really plays a big role in information technology, and there will be endless opportunities that we can look forward to in the future. So that's it for this session. Don't forget to catch the next session by Hajra, Oluwabami, and Afra, the leading women of Nestle, as they speak about leadership for impact. What is it like to drive women in engineering, family, career balance, and how to thrive in a male-dominated function? This is another session that you would not want to miss. So click on the link on the chat box to go directly to the next session, or you can go back to the VFairs agenda page and join the session from there. If you missed any of the sessions today or from yesterday, don't worry, because the recordings will be up very, very soon. So also, please share your thoughts about today's Nest Level session and tag us in LinkedIn with the hashtag NestLevel2022. Have a great day, everyone. Thanks again, Ola and Mark. See you all in the next session. Bye, guys.